Thank you for tuning in to the teaching ministry of Reverend Gillard S. Glover. Now stay tuned for a powerful message.
If you have your Bibles, turn to the Gospel according to Luke, 9th chapter. We are looking at the 51st through the 62nd verses. And as we look at those verses, or if you look at them when you go home, I'd like you to ask you a question. Will you put Jesus first? Will you put Jesus first? After the transfiguration event, where Jesus' glory was revealed to his inner circle, Jesus descended from the mountain and decided that he would teach his disciples. He taught them about the kingdom and what was required to be a disciple, but he not only taught in precept, he would also teach them by example. He explained to them that I too have a call on my life, that God has called me to shoulder a great burden. God has called me to take off my divine nature and put on the divinity, put on dust, and to travel through 42 generations and to walk like men walk and talk like men walk and to be rejected like men were rejected so that men can be saved. That's my charge. And that charge requires me to go to Jerusalem, where I will be lifted up on a cross with shouldering all the sins of the world, die a painful death, but be resurrected in 3 days. Disciples didn't quite get it yet. He said, well, let's go. Now, Jesus' trip from the Galilee to Jerusalem would require an overnight stay. And so he sent messengers in front of him to speak to persons in a Samaritan village. He asked the Samaritan village, would they provide him with hospitality, a little food and lodging for the night? The Samaritans refused. Now, the Samaritans and the Jews were second cousins, but there was a lot of enmity between the two. First, the Samaritans occupied the northern province. They occupied the northern kingdom that was conquered by the Assyrians and the Babylonians. And they intermarried with the Assyrians and the Babylonians. So for the Jews who were primarily left in the southern kingdom, they felt that the Samaritans were a mixed race people, less pure than they were. And so they didn't want anything to do with them. Interestingly enough, both the Jews and the Samaritans worshiped Yahweh. But the Samaritans said that Yahweh lived at the top of a mountain called Gerizim. The Jews asserted that Yahweh lived in the Holy of Holies in the Temple of Jerusalem. They didn't understand the nature of God, but that was a source of their disagreement. The Samaritans only believed in the first 5 books of the Bible, the books written by Moses. Jews believed in all of the books of the Old Testament, the 39. So there was a basis for a lot of enmity and disagreement among the Samaritans and the Jews. And because of that, they refused Jesus' accommodations. Now, James and John, AKA the sons of thunder, thought that we should punish them. He said, Lord, is it okay for us to call down fire and destroy this village? Now, that's pretty extreme, yeah. But that was their attitude about it. What they were hearkening unto was what Elijah did when to King Ahaziah's messengers when they came after him. Jesus said, no, you have been called to save people, not to destroy people. And so he said, we'll move on. And so they moved on to another village. On their way, they encountered what we might call reluctant disciples. There was one guy who was very, very excited about following Jesus until he found out there was no money in it. There was another disciple who wanted to follow Jesus, but he prioritized a community expectation. Third disciple, the reluctant disciple, was reluctant because he wanted to go back and say goodbye to his friends and his family. Church, can you put Jesus first? Will you put Jesus first ahead of community expectations, ahead of family obligations, ahead of religious disputes? Would you put Jesus first? That's our question for today. Will you put Jesus first? Now, this first reluctant disciple was eager. He was a fan. He had been to all of Jesus' revivals, and he had seen him feed the 5,000, and he'd seen many of his miracles, and he wanted to follow Jesus. He said, Lord, I'll follow you wherever you go. A little bit too eager. Okay. Jesus was excited about him, but he knew there were some reservations. This gentleman was a scribe, which means that he had studied under the province of a rabbi for a year or so. And he had great skills. He could read and write the language of the Old Testament. He had finally finished his apprenticeship period. And now it was tradition that he could select any rabbi he wanted to attach himself to. So he wanted to attach himself to Jesus. But it was the custom that the rabbis provided for those following them a dormitory, food, and a stipend. And so this young man was eager to go, but he expected a place to lay his head, something to put in his stomach, and something to put in his pocket. Jesus had to disabuse him of that. He said, I don't have a dormitory for you, son. I don't have a guaranteed source of food for you. I certainly cannot promise you a stipend. We live off of what is given to us by the people to whom we minister. Jesus said, foxes have holes, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. That's a problem with us when it comes to church planting now. Oftentimes we have young people who come out of seminary and they want the golden package immediately. They are not prepared to do the work of starting from nothing. They can't even consider that. They want the golden package. They want assurance of housing and assurance of stipend and assurance of benefit packages, et cetera, et cetera. Most of our churches are not prepared to do that. And if you're going to expand the church, then you've got to get some people who are willing to go into the hard places where there's nothing but hard work and build up from there. And so the work of church planting is stalled because the attitudes like this young man. But what the young man did not understand is that he had an opportunity to follow the Lord of the universe and that God was able to provide for him. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather have Jesus than riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords to me. walked along, saw another young man who must have looked very promising, and Jesus was able to sense that this man had a spiritual inclination. Jesus said, "Follow me." He didn't volunteer. Jesus said, "You follow me." And the young man said, "I'll follow you, but first, let me go back and bury my father." There was a strong obligation, community expectation that sons bury their fathers. And this burial had to occur within a 24-hour period. Jewish burials are within a 24-hour period. Jesus was concerned because he thought that if the young man went back, he would be caught up in other family obligations and would never be able to return and do what he should do. He asked him, "Don't you have cousins? Don't you have other brothers? Isn't there somebody else who can perform this function for you? Let the dead bury the dead." Now, I know that sounds harsh, but what he was really saying is, let those who are spiritually dead. That's what he meant. Let those who are spiritually dead bury those who are physically dead. But you go preach the gospel. The young man couldn't follow Jesus. He succumbed to the community pressure upon him. Jesus was leading him into a life par excellence, but he wasn't willing to follow him. But for me, where he leads me, I will follow. What about you? Where he leads me, I will follow. Wherever Jesus leads me, I will follow. I'll go with him all the way. There's a third one. He said he wanted to follow Jesus. But first, let me go back and say goodbye to my family and friends. I got to do this. That was a red flag. That was a real red flag. When you're called to go forward, you should never look back. I don't want to be on 95 with Brother Gary driving, looking back. That's a dangerous prospect, okay? Jesus said anyone puts his hand to the plow and turns and looks back is not fit for the kingdom. But oftentimes we see that happen. People look back. In the Old Testament, we're told of a woman who loved a lurid lifestyle in a city that was about to be destroyed. God took she and her family out of the city, but she just had to get one more look. And when she turned around, she was turned into a pillar of salt, Lot's wife. The Egyptian slaves who were freed, once they got into the wilderness and realized they had to feed themselves, they had to provide for themselves, many of them said, let's go back to Egypt. At least we had predictable meals. And all of them except Joshua and Caleb died in the wilderness because they looked back. Sometimes people are engaged in illicit relationships and someone accepts Christ. He decides he no longer wants to have that illicit relationship, but he just wants to go back and say goodbye. And goodbye turns into never can say goodbye. Mm-hmm. Drug addicts who are rehabilitated want to go back and show the boys. You can do it too. Get back, decide they're going to have just one more drink. And they end up spending their lives again enslaved by addiction. When God calls you, go forward. Friends may be pulling on you, but go forward. Community may be pulling on you, but go forward. Follow Jesus. When he calls you, your answer should be yes, Lord, yes. To your will and to your way. Yes, Lord, yes, I will answer and obey. When the Spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I agree. And my answer, all right, will be yes, Lord, yes. That's what Jesus did. When God told him his mission, he said yes. When he said it's going to require you to divest yourself of your divine stature, he said yes. Said when he told him it's going to require you to take off your uniform and put on mankind's uniform, he said yes. He said, you will be rejected and you will be disrespected. He said, yes, I'm going to place on you all the sins of mankind. He said yes. He was lifted up on a cross on Friday because he said yes. He was buried and stayed in the grave all day Saturday because he said yes. But because he said yes, early Sunday morning, God came by and got him up. That's whenever you say yes to God, he will come by. He won't keep you down. He won't allow you to stay down. He will come by and get you up. And for me, I've decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. I've decided to follow Jesus wherever he leads me, whatever he demands of me, no matter who goes with me or who opposes me. I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to put him first. What about you? Will you put Jesus first? What about you? Will you put Jesus first? What about you? Will you put Jesus first? Amen. Amen.
Take me my hands to reach out to man, to show him your love and your perfect plan. You gave me my ears, I can hear your voice so clear. I can hear the cry of sinners, but can I wipe away their tears? You gave